Hello there, everybody. And today for Batman the Animated Series, I'm reviewing a two-parter, that being Heart of Steel. So this is a very different episode of Batman the Animated Series. This is where he goes up against a robot AI that is making robot versions of people he knows, and it's up for Batman to investigate what is going on. And this is also the first appearance of Barbara Gordon in this show before she becomes Batgirl. But it mainly opens with this mysterious lady that meets Bruce later in the episode, where she is suspiciously holding a suitcase that's revealed to be a robot, and it takes over the building Bruce is visiting. But they don't suspect it's her yet until they meet an AI version of the scientist dude. He built this giant machine that has an AI voice, and he shows Bruce it. He doesn't think much of it until he starts to investigate more in the Batcave, where he fears AI is going to be a threat. And that's very telling for our world right now, because AI is pretty big right now. But once Batman starts to see everything come together, it all takes a deep turn once he does meet with Barbara and Jim. And I actually do like Barbara Gordon's first appearance in this show. I wasn't expecting it to be this episode, but when I saw this as a kid, I was like, oh, this is definitely Barbara's first appearance. And she even has like a little teddy bear she carries around ever since childhood. I thought that was adorable. But some people think it's weird that Bruce and Barbara are in a relationship, and this is like the early start to it before we see it later referenced in Batman Beyond. It's a little weird. I'll probably get more into that when we do get to the Batgirl episodes. But Barbara's in college, of course, in this version of the show. But once things take a dark turn, when the lady Bruce meets, she is revealed to be a villain behind this AI robot thing that's making robot versions of various citizens of Gotham. The first victim to come to this is Jim Gordon. While Barbara's studying, and Jim ends up going outside, and he sees like a duplicate version of himself, and he's like wondering what is going on, and then he gets zapped, knocked out, and he is replaced by a robot version of Jim who just says fine to everything, and it makes Barbara suspicious of what's going on. But during that, Bruce decides to have a date with the girl, Laura, I think her name is, and he is called back to Wayne Tower to meet up with Lucius Fox about the investigation of the AI, but during that, she ends up knocking Alfred out. Poor Alfred. She ends up going into the Batcave and discovering Bruce's Batman, and she decides to set up a trap for Batman. But once he does get home, after realizing that she is behind all these schemes behind these robots, he ends up getting snatched by this training robot thing that's in the Batcave, and it ends up picking up Bruce. And I thought that was a wild way to end the episode back when I saw it as a kid. But we do see part two. Part two is definitely really good, as it turns out Batman is able to take out the robot, and Alfred shows up after waking up. I forgot to mention earlier, he did wake up when Bruce showed up. But once Batman takes out the robot, he decides to investigate some more until Jim starts to act more suspicious around Barbara, not even treating her like a daughter. And he ends up meeting up with Harvey Bullock, and he ends up disappearing in the episode until Barbara is able to light the bat signal and Batman shows up to wonder what's going on. I even like how Barbara even holds on to Batman's cape and he tells her to not do that. But it's interrupted by Harvey showing up, who is revealed to be an android once they shove him into the bat signal, and he just explodes as a robot. It just looks so wild looking. But Batman's going to investigate these robots even more. But he tells Barbara to stay behind so she doesn't get endangered, but she decides to go anyway. She's able to find the clues of who's behind all this madness, And she actually shows her detective skills. She's able to find a pass key to sneak into the building, but she, of course, gets captured by the robot until Batman shows up, and it is discovered that behind all this is that Jim Harvey, the mayor, also got captured too. And and the main guy who built the AI, he ended up getting captured too, portrayed by the lady. And they're all put into like some Bacta tank, like in Star Wars. But once Batman shows up with Barbara, they're able to actually work together. I do like how Barbara does a lot in this episode to help Batman out. But she's able to free Jim and the others, and they're able to escape. But Batman decides to stay behind to take down the main lady, who is revealed to be an android herself. But Bruce is able to destroy the robots, of course, and the main AI thing. But Barbara decides to come in to help him escape, and the episode does end on a good note. But originally this episode was going to have a robot Batman, but they didn't have enough time to include him, so they just ended it off with that. But he did return later. I thought the robot Batman was going to show up in this episode, but he doesn't until that episode gets its own in itself, which I'll probably get into in the future, hopefully. But yeah, this is definitely a great episode for sure. Definitely surprised me on rewatch. I do like Batman and Barbara's dynamic before we see it. Batman and Batgirl show up, and then eventually Batman, Batgirl, and Robin. So it's like an early setup to the Bat family. But it started off with just Barbara Gordon. But I do like how different this episode is with just the robots and the craziness behind it. It honestly predicts the future, honestly, in this episode. So I give this episode definitely probably a 9 or a 10 out of 10. This is definitely one of my top episodes if I had to pick one for Batman the Animated Series. So what do you think of Heart of Steel? The next episode is a Riddler episode. I'm excited to talk about that. So anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.